Now, if we look at the sky, we've been kind of dealing with this abstraction called the celestial sphere, but the way to think about it is that we're inside the celestial sphere. So whenever you see the path of the sun on the celestial sphere, what that means is if you imagine your head's inside the celestial sphere, you're going to see stars and you're going to see the sun at a certain, within a certain range of those stars. And that's what we're seeing here. We have the celestial equator is a definite line in the sky, a very clearly visible imaginary line. And then we have, that's the celestial equator, then we have the ecliptic, which is the motion of the sun. If there were no tilt of Earth's axis, the ecliptic and the celestial equator would be the same line, because the sun would, like I explained a moment ago, would always be sitting there on the celestial equator. So if you have no tilt, that sounds like a good exam question. I've asked that before. If you removed Earth's tilt completely, what would happen? A, explosion. B, disaster. C, tornado. D, hurricane. Or E, the celestial equator is identical to the ecliptic. E, of course. Kind of obvious anyway. All right, so what we're seeing, if we make this kind of observation every sidereal day, we would see the sun marching across the sky on the ecliptic. Right? So as I mentioned, there's such a thing as a sidereal day. It's a little shorter than a solar day. And the meaning of a sidereal day is as follows. You go outside, you lie down, you point your head north. Well, it doesn't have to be north, but let's say you point your head north. Let's say south. You can point north. That's fine. It still works anyway. And you open your eyes and you see the pattern of stars. Well, if you keep watching them, they're going to move. But if you close your eyes and wait exactly one sidereal day and then open them again for a little while, it'll look like nothing changed because the stars will snap back to exactly the position that they were in. So that concept is the sidereal day. It's the amount of time that it takes the stars to go all the way, seemingly all the way around the Earth. It's really just the Earth spinning. But then they appear in the exact same spot. So if you, again, this was actually exciting in the pre-internet era. You'd lie outside, and every 24 sidereal hours you'd open your eyes for a minute or so and get all excited because the stars were in exactly the same place and nothing changed. Which just goes to show you why the internet really took off, because I was really bored, frankly. Big thing. Now, if we do that, we can imagine we're doing that right now, because you notice the stars aren't moving, right? They're sitting there. So if we open our eyes every sidereal day, we just see that. We see the stars in exactly the same position. But the sun would move, because the sun is actually involved in a different kind of motion because of the fact that the Earth is going around the sun. That changes our perspective view of the sun and makes it appear to move across the stars. So the sun's cycle isn't the sidereal cycle, because if you open your eyes every sidereal day, the stars will be fixed, but the sun won't be fixed. That's it. Okay, so here's a full map of the entire sky showing the ecliptic and the north celestial pole, south celestial pole, the celestial equator. Okay, so again, this idea of the celestial sphere, let me just show this animation just to... Everybody get down, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Ready to duck and cover. Gonna work? It's not. What? I don't think that's the video. That'd be a pretty crappy video, wouldn't it? One that spoofs your computer crash. Well, that's exciting. Or what? There's a reason why this kept... Oh, I remember. I'll have to work on this. I have to reprogram it, not to use that program, but... Oh, wait, maybe there's a little bit of this. Breaking out of the lecture. Second. Here somewhere. Weird things here too. Hey. What the... That might... Maybe. Let's try... Oh, there it is. Oh, no. Oh, that's what I have to... The other step. Hold on. I want to get at least a moral victory out of this. Okay, where are you? There's... You have to do open with and you have to choose the default program. Always do this. Always do it, but it'll immediately forget anyway. Guarantee it. Okay. Happen? Moral victory. Okay. Ta-da. Actually, not really all that exciting. This is basically the celestial sphere. Now, this is kind of a weird way of looking at it because we're not looking at it from inside, we're looking at it from outside, which is really kind of bizarre because it's only really useful if you look at it from the inside. So, again, like I said, a moral victory. Let's see if I can find something else to clip it. Here we go. Okay, so here we see the sun. This is actually an annual process we're seeing. We're seeing the sun drift up and down in the celestial sphere. Okay, the celestial equator is this line right here. And so that would be summer in the northern hemisphere because the sun would appear to be high in the sky in the north. This would be summer in the southern hemisphere because if you flip everything upside down, the sun would be high in the sky in the southern hemisphere if it's in the southern part of the celestial sphere. And this will probably, I think it sets the loop forever and ever and ever. Yes?
Okay, so just for reference, like, from the standpoint of the person who is looking out at this, is this from the perspective of someone who's on Earth, or is it someone who's out in space?
Yeah, I want to say it's probably the out in space perspective. It's not really, again, file that under moral victory. Next. Now this, I think this is actually from, this is from an earthly perspective. All right, so this is actually kind of what we saw in the one online video. This, okay, can anybody guess? What are we looking at? We're on Earth. What direction are we looking? Looking south, right? Because we're actually still seeing rising in the east, setting in the west, because we're looking south, so the east is over there. So stuff's still rising in the east and setting in the west. It does that everywhere on Earth. But the motion around the south celestial pole is clockwise motion, the opposite of what we see around the north celestial pole. This is the other one. Isn't it great when you master technology? It's my slave now. I really shouldn't say that because you know what's going to happen. It's going to love or something. All right, so this is the north celestial pole. Okay, so again, we're looking dead north. We're seeing counterclockwise motion around the north celestial pole, rising in the east, setting in the west. It's obviously just the diurnal motion. You actually just saw the Little Dipper moving along there. The Little Dipper's tail actually is Polaris. It's very sensitive about that, in fact. And then the north, the Big Dipper is over there, I think. Anyway, and that's the Milky Way right there, which is actually looking through the disk of our own galaxy. All right, let me see what else I need to do here. I think we've reached the halfway point for today. Okay, diurnal motion, yeah, okay. Haven't been through that. This is a little heavier duty. Yeah, I just showed this in my last slide. It's a little PowerPoint thing where we take the Earth's motion around the sun with the orbital plane flat, the way I like it. My personal preference is to have the orbital plane flat, and then the Earth's axis would be tilted. But we're going to also plot its motion in the celestial sphere way of looking at things up here. So we start off the winter solstice, which is basically the dead of winter, and we have the sun making its most southerly excursion in the celestial sphere. All right, so this looks kind of weird up here. It looks a little abstract, but it's actually very simple. We're over here where we basically have the axis of spin pointed as far away from the sun as it ever can be. That's really what winter solstice is about. Okay, so again, if you project Earth's equator out into space, the sun, remember the projection of Earth's equator is that line in the sky we call the celestial equator. It goes through the Pacific stars. The sun's going to be way below that. So the sun's way south in the celestial sphere, and it's not going to rise very far above the horizon, even where we live, let alone the North Pole. Right? The North Pole is total darkness, it doesn't rise at all. Where we are at mid-latitudes, it's going to rise, but only about 30 degrees above the horizon. Okay, so that's deep winter in the northern hemisphere, and it's over there, it's that spot up there in the celestial sphere. So now we can have it move along through the seasons, and we move to the vernal equinox, which is late March. Now, the sun is actually located right in the celestial equator. Aren't my laser pointer? Here we go. The sun's right on the celestial equator, so it's actually moving through the projection of Earth's equator onto the sky, moving into the northern half of the celestial sphere. Summer solstice, the exact opposite of winter solstice. It's as high in the sky as it's ever going to get. We get the strongest heating of the year in the northern hemisphere. That would be the dead of winter in the south, though, right? If you're on the south pole of the Earth, during what we call summer solstice up here, somebody on the south pole would be in total darkness. It's just a mirror image of what we were talking about before. And then we move into what we're approaching right now, the vernal equinox in late September, when the sun will move back down through the celestial equator. And we will start, remember what that means is the sun doesn't rise very high in the sky anymore. When it's below the celestial equator, it doesn't rise very much above the horizon. And you really notice that the temperatures drop. You can really notice the temperature dropping significantly right around the time of the autumnal equinox because that heating effect is so much weaker from the sun. All right, so I guess I'll end that here for now. We'll pick it up again next week. So again, maybe we need to course that